Howdy, y'all. Your favorite trainer with a belt buckle. Today, we're going to get into the science behind best superset. We're going to take a look at the chest. We're going to look at a little video here, analyze and break down why this is one of the better supersets, looking at the mechanisms and variables for hypertrophy. If you're not familiar with Show Up Fitness, we teach personal trainers. We have internships in person in La Jolla, San Diego, Los Angeles, West Hollywood, and also Santa Monica. We want to get to Las Vegas. We want to get to Texas, Boston, Florida. We're going to be everywhere. You just got to show up. We're also online. So let's take a look at this video. Here's a big hunk doing some dumbbell presses. Now, I like dumbbell incline a lot more than barbell due to the positioning of the glenohumeral joint and also the scapular position. So if you can see Skelly back here, you'll see there's something called the scapular plane. Now right there, watch, I want you to see this last rep. This is 70 pounds. Watch how I push it up faster than I did before. Yeah, didn't really see that. Let's do it again. Up, one more time. Boom. So a little dead stop right there. Trying to get optimal motor unit recruitment. So then from there, I go right into a Bosu ball push-up. What? You're doing a Bosu ball, Chris? You hate stability. Take a look at what I'm doing here. I'm doing some partials. We're going to analyze why this is optimal. I'm going for 25 repetitions. Got to give credit to Professor Max here in San Diego for some awesome filming skills. Look at that. The purpose of the superset, the second one, is to go to volitional fatigue. All right, so let's take a look at the science behind this set. Bunch of big words right here. All right, so we got mechanisms for hypertrophy, variables for hypertrophy. This is what I call the Std Principle, and I've taken this from Dr. Brad Schoenfeld. He doesn't call it that because he is more professional than I am. STD, we got to get more of them. So when you look at how we put size on, it's going to be due to mechanical tension, muscular damage, and then metabolic stress. And he has a study that was a research review that he did, and I believe it was 2008 or 10. I will find it and put it into the comment section. It was one of the most widely cited articles on hypertrophy, and he came out in 2020, this year, and he even made reference to, that's the beautiful thing about science, it's constantly changing. Whereas before, it was almost equal parts tension, damage, stress. Now they're saying it's definitely tension number one. Two would be due to damage, and then a very long third place, maybe not even deserving third place, would be metabolic stress. Because are we getting hypertrophy due to metabolic stress or the tension that is being used with the lightweight in producing those metabolites? All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I think this is one of the better supersets. Now, when you have these arguments, you have to also understand, it's like asking a basketball player, how do you become great? What's the best offense to run? And that's such a terrible question because in sport, there isn't. You can't give an answer to that. But in resistance training, world bodybuilding, we look for that magical fountain of youth exercise. Like, what's the best chest exercise? What's the best glute exercise? And that's not the question we should be asking. We should be asking the questions about how much tension are you putting, how much damage are you creating, what about the stress, volume, frequency, intensity, VFI. But also, you could have the best exercise in the world, but if you're not showing up regularly, if you're not consistent, it's not going to work. If you're not sleeping, you're getting to the gym and you're doing half-ass workouts, it's all going to be not optimal. So focus on the most important things. Showing up every single day to the gym, 5-6 days a week, do some cardio in there, strengthen the heart. Be consistent with your workouts for a minimum of 3 months. And then just like in sport, hire a coach. If you're not getting the results, it's probably because you're program hopping or you're listening to your buddy who's all jacked up on trend and he has no idea what the hell he's doing. He doesn't understand this stuff, but we do. So let's get into the science-y stuff behind this now. For those that aren't science-y, that's why you need to show up. And even if you don't want to become a trainer, once you understand anatomy, it makes everything that you're doing in the gym so much easier. So the actions when I'm pressing are going to be humeral horizontal adduction. Your scapula is coming off the back. It's called protraction, and your elbows extended. So again, if you can see, with Skelly right here. Notice how the scapula, it doesn't sit like this on the back, flat. It's more rotated. That's called the scapular plane. Technically, we have the sagittal, frontal plane, transverse plane. Some people even call this its own plane, scapular plane. The scapula wants to move, and it moves better when the glenohumeral joint is positioned that way. Or a lot of people, when we do barbell, we're rotating up into a T, we're going to put more stress on that AC joint, the acromioclavicular joint. So that's why I prefer dumbbell presses. You get a greater range of motion, and it's usually just a lot more shoulder friendly. So let's take a look at the muscles that are engaged. It's just chest and triceps, right? Some people think they're smart. Like, oh, it's anterior deltoid. A lot more muscles than just those three. So because of humeral horizontal adduction, you have your sternal region of your chest. Incline is going to be your clavicular region, upper, middle, lower, costal. So when I do incline, it's going to be the clavicular region. And then you're going to have your anterior deltoid. Due to protraction of the scapula, you're going to have your serratus anterior and pec minor. Your pec minor is underneath, right there. So you take away the pec major, it's underneath. It's a protractor of your scapula, also a forced exhalator. That's when your pec minor is working. At the elbow, due to extension, that's why your triceps are working. You also get a little bit of your latissimus dorsi. You can see that because the lats extend, but in this position back here, if you just flex your lats, you'll see that my humerus is going to come forward a little bit. So like the bottom third of a bench or an incline or whatever, it's primarily, now I wouldn't say primary, there is your latissimus dorsi helping out. That would be more your anterior deltoid from that position, but the lats are helping. And then we have the stabilizers. So you remove the deltoid underneath, you have the sits, which are your rotator cuff muscles, supraspinatus, it's above, infraspinatus below, teres minor, and subscapularis. Then we have the glutes because you want to keep your low back protected. With the spine, we have the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar region. And people always lose their shit because you see an arch. I'm on a chair right now, and I'm going to show you from this angle. The arch is perfectly fine. It's just what type of arch are you creating? So my lumbar region is protected right now, and this is a thoracic arch. So my lumbar is not bending. This is perfectly fine. It's a thoracic arch. So when I bench, I can tell the difference of someone getting a thoracic arch, which should move, versus an anterior pelvic tilt, which is not optimal with heavy load when you're benching. And that's how I hurt my back early 2010. It was due, I think I had like 700 pounds on the bench. It's the internet, so you always fabricate. And I just had too much of an arch. And I ended up messing up my L4, L5 discs, but that's completely my fault. It wasn't the bench exercise's fault. It's because I wasn't squeezing my glutes. The weight was heavy. I just go into that fight or flight mode. My brain essentially just shuts off thinking, processing. It just wants to move that weight. So I get that crazy arch, boom, injury. So I could have prevented that by squeezing my glutes, also my core. So if Casper, Skelly right here, he's going to punch me in the next 5 minutes, and I don't know what it's going to be. I need to be tight because when he punches me, that's going to protect me from blowing out that air. So when people say brace your core, squeezing your pooping muscles. So that's what we're talking about when we say squeeze or brace your core. So those are all the muscles that are engaged. Now, I talked about motor unit recruitment. I'm going to draw the size principle because this is really important, especially for newbies. Henneman size principle. A lot of even certifying agencies don't talk about this. So we have muscle fiber types 1 and 2, and the larger they are, that's going to be our type 2s up here. So we have threshold on this axis, and then we have force on the bottom. So what happens is as the weight goes up, we're going to get greater motor unit recruitment. So a motor unit is a neuron and all the associated muscle fibers that it innervates. It's just your brain talking to your muscle. Muscle confusion. No, it's not happening. So what's happening is when you do an exercise like this superset incline press into the stability ball press, it's not for a beginner, but why is this going to be optimal for hypertrophy? One, the mechanical tension is there. I'm at my gym here in La Jolla. It doesn't have greater than 70s. I would prefer to use maybe 85s on those for 6 to 8, but I had to make do with what I had. That's why on that last rep, I paused and I pushed as fast as I could and I optimized my motor unit recruitment. And then I went right into the stability ball press. And why do I like the stability ball press? I like how my hand position can be neutral. For a lot of your clients, this is going to irritate them. But the main reason is I can limit my range of motion. Well, you're not doing it the full way. That's bad. In some context, that may be true. For a beginner, for trying to get a push-up, you got to do full range of motion and protract at the top. But the purpose here is to establish metabolic stress. I want hypoxia to kick in. Hypoxia is a cool word. Hypoxia. Hypoxia is a lack of oxygen. And hypoxic training, people that do swim work and stuff underwater, you're not allowing for oxygen to leave the muscle. So in this environment, metabolites accumulate, and that's one of the mechanisms for hypertrophy, metabolic stress. So when I do these partials, what I'm doing is I'm just eliminating elbow extension. I'm not allowing my triceps to work. I'm not allowing my serratus to work. I'm just allowing for my pec major to accumulate that stress. So that hydrogen ions, technically what it would be, that lactate that's accumulating in the muscle, metabolites, what do we call it? We call it acidosis. So when lactic acidosis accumulates, that's going to be a trigger, a stimulant for hypertrophy. Now, it's at the end of my chest workout. Again, this is just one small piece of the puzzle. You could look at the superset and be like, it's stupid, I don't like it. That's fine. Your choice. I don't give a shit. But you got to look at the other pieces. So for me, I was doing heavier dips first. And I was working in that 1 to 5, 1 to 8 rep range. Again, very high tension. We start looking at overall volume. How many sets are you doing? But are you bringing those sets to fatigue? And that's intensity. That's a big, big, important factor that we need to address. And that's the value of working with a trainer. Most of us stick in that comfort zone. We do 3 sets of bench, 3 sets of barbell incline, 3 sets of chest flies. We do it once or twice a week. We know my chest can't grow. I'm an ectomorph. We want to blame, I'm a hard gainer. No, you're not. You don't train hard enough. Your workouts suck. So here's my challenge for you. Start implementing scientific aspects for hypertrophy like this in training variables. So we have mechanisms for hypertrophy, STD, got to get more STDs, variables for optimization of hypertrophy, VFI, volume, frequency, intensity. There's a lot more to the picture than just this superset. You can do it with a lot of other exercises, but put it more at the end of your workout. Because imagine if I only rested a minute, I went back into that incline press, I'm not going to be able to get 10, so therefore I'm compromising tension. Do the burn exercises at the end. Optimize force in the beginning, get your volume and damage during the workout. At the end, do a few sets to get that metabolic stress. If you want to become a trainer or learn more about the science behind lifting and how you can get absolutely shredded by showing up, check out our online internship. If you can't make it to Southern California, keep showing up, y'all. It's favorite trainer in the belt buckle. Check it out.